Welcome back to the U18 Orion Slam. This is the men's championship final. We have Team Malima versus Team Stratton. Both 1 and 2 seed after the round robin, so that's what you like to see. The most consistent teams that were in the round robin are playing against each other in the championship final. And what looks like a relatively open first end. As you guys can see, both teams are playing with 3 players. For Team Stratton, their lead, Braden Appleby, is off with a concussion that he got before the tournament started. He is behind the glass, charting for the team. He's still here supporting them. He just is choosing not to play. And for Team Malima, Jack Reagan came down with a stomach issue yesterday that he's been battling with for the last 24 hours. We have checked his temperature multiple times and he's been nothing but flawless in the 36-degree range. And for Jack, he gets to sit behind the glass and chart and support his team for Team Malima. So you're going to see the lead and the second of both teams throw the first 3 stones of the end, and then the skips will both throw 2 stones. Just for people who don't exactly know what happens when there's only 3 players on the ice. So Griffin's starting off with a center guard. And Team Stratton, Kyle's asking Matt to make the hit and roll. And what we've seen in the previous draws before this one is that side is a little bit sharper, even with the hit weight and that rock slightly over curl. This is the last men's draw of the Orion Slam. And just to update everyone at home, in the championship consolation game weekend of curling, all of these teams here have been incredible to watch, and for the first event of the weekend, it's been fun to commentate over. And our game obviously is the championship final. And for Team Stratton, another chance at this hit and roll. And though they did nose that center guard, it is now their color in the control zone that we have talked about in the last 10 draws. So Team Malima taking the more aggressive approach in this first end, yes. Playing the draw around this tight center guard. And just asking Jacob to put this top 4 buried. And after shouting out the curlers, I absolutely want to shout out the fans and the viewers back home, all the parents and family members and friends that are watching this game. Great sweep by Griffin and a great line call by Kibo. A great team shot. And back to what I was saying, I just want to shout out everyone back home watching this game. These athletes have been through now the 6th draw of the weekend, which is a lot of curling in 3 days. It's incredible to see, especially for their first event, how the execution has just been raised every single game, and especially with these 2 championships finals, this men's draw right now, and a great run back by Liam. And as I was saying, Team Malima being maybe the little bit more aggressive team is gonna, I would like to think, play the freeze here after a great run back by Stratton. So you've seen already the execution level of this championship final being quite high, and we're only in the first end. It's incredible to see. So just shout out to the parents and all the fans back home, our #1 supporters for these athletes, who maybe they wish they could be here, but because of our COVID restrictions, they can't. So we have this amazing live stream, and shout out to Craig and Ashton, our tech guys, who've been here all weekend, and Matt being here yesterday. Oh, another big sweep by Griffin, and it just rubs off the center guard. But just shout out to the tech guys as well, as Ryan is joining me on the broadcast.
Hi there, Sam. I'm happy to see that I caused you maybe a little bit of a loss for words there. I've been a little bit busy during this first end, and me being maybe a little bit more of the creative one, yeah, as Sam snickers on mute, because he knows it's true. We're going to have a couple guests on our broadcast today, and I'm really looking forward to see some of their insights. I think we're going to have the first one arriving in and around the second end, and then I think we'll have the other one arriving a little bit later on in the game. But
not to spoil our guests, but I've already announced that Braden and Jake have been sat off the ice for this game. As you can see, both teams are playing with 3.
Sam, I thought we were going to go with a little bit more of a suspenseful approach to this, but at the end of the day, if
it's not what the
knowing how talkative you are as an individual, I'm not surprised to see that happen.
The viewers back home probably think that I am the talkative one on the broadcast.
No sarcasm there. None at all.
So back to the game. Kibo, a little bit of pressure on Kibo in the first end here. Yes, both stones are behind the tee line, but Stratton is sitting 2 with hammer. So Kibo's going to want to follow what Jacob did on his first stone and put this in the top 4 foot behind that center guard. And if this does drift a little bit farther and make the freeze, that's just as good.
Line's looking good on this shot, Sam, and I think just seeing how both Team Stratton and Team Malima have played over the course of this tournament, I have complete confidence, pardon me, that this shot will be made. And a great sweep here by Jake, and a great call by Griffin as well, and it's shot stone, and it's in a great spot.
Yeah, I've already mentioned just before you got on the broadcast that these two teams have been executing at a high level all weekend long, and that's why you see the 1 and 2 seed in our championship final here.
Yeah, and I think it just speaks volumes to the depth of U18 curling that we have in the province of Ontario. And I'm just really looking forward to see a lot of positive things from both teams that are happening during this game. And this is, Sam, this is a really interesting part in the season, because this is for most teams their first competitive tournament, and who knows, really, to be frank, when the next one will be. So I think it's really important that both teams throw like they have been throwing all weekend, and really execute shot for shot.
And I think you have to remember that even if you imagine this final as an even bigger final, as like a provincial final, just being in the moment and being exactly where you are, you get to curl, you're in a championship final. The more times you play these big games, the easier it gets. And it's awesome to see this level of curling already in the year, and a big sweep by Matt to get this to curl.
Trying to really move it over there. And I don't mind where that ended up, Sam. They pushed it behind the tee line. Yellow is still shot, but forcing Malima to come down into that pocket or into that top 4 zone and really apply some pressure to Team Stratton.
Yeah, I like it if Team Malima plays the exact same shot even if you do drift to the back of the blue one, you get that force that you want. But to put the pressure on, you really want this just full top forefoot behind that center.
Yep.
And then pressure goes right back onto Kyle.
So interestingly enough, we're seeing Kibo throw that lefty in-turn draw, really trying to get into that top four. And I heard Griffin call exactly top four. And I think one thing that's just noticeable when you're listening in on this sort of game is the communication between both teams is just so detailed. And yes, that's not exactly where Team Kibo would like that rock to be placed. At the end of the day, they're still sitting 2, and the pressure is on Team Stratton to execute a draw to the button in the first end. And that's no simple feat, especially not in the first end. But Team Stratton, just like Team Malima, had a practice, and I have a strong feeling that this rock being thrown by Kyle and being managed by Matt will be really close. Really big sweep here. Oh wow. And if that doesn't, in a nutshell, just show the quality that both of these teams are going to bring to this game. If I'm at home, I'm grabbing my popcorn and a drink, and I'm settling in for a great game.
You're making me thirsty, buddy.
So welcome back to the second end. And though Team Stratton got forced to 1, a big, motivation-wise, a big point to make that last shot.
Yeah, I think that's a really big shot, especially to start out this game. And I think considering how big of a shot it was for Team Stratton, it would make nothing but sense to, but sense? Does that even make sense?
No, yeah.
It makes nothing but common sense, we'll go with that, to introduce one of the members of Team Stratton that's not out on the ice right now. Camera guys, can I just get you to show us the in-house picture quickly?
Don't forget to smile.
Yeah. And there is Braden.
Yep.
Anything you want to say to the internet?
Not really, no.
Okay. Well,
that's okay.
Yeah, we'll cycle back and forth. We just wanted to get a little bit of insight on Team Stratton, a little bit of history, and maybe we'll see a little bit of critique.
Okay. So how long has your team been together?
So Liam, our vice, this is only his second year with us, but Kyle, Matt, and I have been together for 3 years now.
And obviously you guys have enjoyed your time together if you're sticking together. And where is your home club, if you want to give a shout out to your home club?
We curl out of London, the London Curling Club.
That's awesome. Shout out to everyone in London listening to this broadcast.
And not to keep asking questions, but I will.
Let me not, but wait, there's more.
How long have you and the rest of your teammates been curling?
I've been curling for 9 years now.
Yeah.
I think about the same for everyone else.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
think about around 9.
And have you all been, other than you said the Liam being the new add-on, have you all been in this London program the whole time?
No. I started out of Brantford, and Kyle and Matt came out of the Kingsville Curling Club.
Awesome.
And Liam came out of the Vic.
Oh, yeah,
And,
Hamilton Vic.
Yep, and so then I was recruited from London about 5 or 6 years ago now. And then Kyle and Matt and I, we just were in competitions together, and we wanted to build a team, so we got in contact and made the team and started curling out of London. And then just this past year, we were able to get Liam to come as well.
Okay,
Absolutely.
nice. Just quickly cycling back to the game. It looks like we saw a missed hit by Team Stratton there, but I think that's just a common trend, Sam, that we've been seeing in this ice. Maybe a little bit of a straighter side, potentially.
And talking to these teams before this game even started and all weekend, they both have been watching the live streams and they've seen what the ice's tendencies have been. So I know they're both prepared. And I know that they knew that side was a little bit straighter going inside out there.
And Sam, sorry to cut you off there, but interestingly enough, we saw that rock coming down the ice, and I think Kibo thought that it might have grabbed something. But considering how talented these sweepers are and how experienced they are, you saw Jacob from Team Malima stick with that rock, do enough to keep it straight, and still stick around, and that's great to see.
Yeah, and I know that Braden is kind of cheering for Liam to make this shot.
Yeah, I definitely am.
Yeah.
Looks like they're wanting it to curl a little bit, and kind of the result that we've seen Matt's rock just do, though he did eliminate the stone, which is great, because obviously one less stone for Stratton to worry about, but a little bit straighter. And Braden, not just to ask you guys, I know this year is a little bit different with practice, but how often do you guys try to mimic each other's releases so that for Kyle it's easy for him to put the broom down?
We've been really working on that this past season. We've been trying to get that more consistent so that they're all similar, so that it's a lot easier. And we've been working on releases and all that sort of stuff with our coach Tim.
Shout out to Tim. Tim, we love you. and we got the hand of approval, so that's good to see.
Tim is focused.
Yes, and Tim says, "Get out of here, commentator people."
Big sweep by Griffin. This has been head down the whole way. And I know these two teams have nothing but respect for each other.
Yeah.
And I know Braden would say that was an incredible sweep, though it wasn't in the rings. It's really cool to see the athletes play on the same level and be physically in really good shape.
Yeah, no, and shout out to the tallest man in the tournament, Griffin, putting literally every inch of height into that sweep. It did come up a bit short, but if I'm in the Team Malima camp now, I'm thinking we're forcing Team Stratton out to a little bit of a tricky spot in the ice. And that yellow rock swept by Griffin is close, so that a split is potentially there, Sam.
Absolutely, and a big hit and stick by Stratton, so Team Lima can't use that stone. And I think Kyle and the rest of the team knew that if they hit and roll out, that's what Malima will do.
Yeah. Braden, just to get a little bit of insight, so coming into this game, your team and Team Malima have been really executing well. What was the conversation surrounding maybe Team Malima's strategy, and maybe not too loud because we do have the Team Malima coach sitting right there. Another wave of approval there. But is there anything that you guys were looking at specifically in terms of their game, or were you thinking more about what your team would do and what your game is?
Mostly we were thinking about what our team would do and like how we'd be able to compete, because we know they're a very strong team. We know they are like very competitive. They can make all their shots. We also know how good of the like sweepers they are. So we were really just focusing on what we could do to like outshoot them and like outplay them.
And yeah, a great answer, and you're absolutely right. That's what you look forward to. I think every team, yes, you kind of strategize the team you're playing against, but you also want to focus on just executing your game plan. And for Liam, try to draw around this corner guard, split the house to get the force on.
Yeah, and Matt's right off this one, but I think a common occurrence you'll see coming this way, Sam, I'm not, maybe...
You're mistaken.
I am mistaken, but I think in later ends, yep, that's a caveat right there. In later ends, I think you'll see throwing that turn, it'll really warp in there, and it'll die. And I think if your team Stratton, not a full executed shot there, but there's learning happening, seeing how the ice is moving, and it's really good to keep that in the memory bank for later.
Absolutely. And Braden, I know you haven't gotten to play this weekend because of your concussion, but just to tell us what the rest of your team's been saying. How have they been liking the facility and the ice and enjoying Dundas Valley Golf?
They love the ice. It's very consistent. They just love it. It's great playing time. It's like amazing ice. They really appreciate everything that everyone has done for this event.
Just to cut you off, that was a great sweep by Griffin to keep that rock straight.
And a trend we'll probably be saying for the whole game.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
And for Kyle and Braden, maybe be able to speak to this. At least what I've seen from Team Stratton this year and last year is you guys are a very good drawing team.
Yes.
And a big shot here to try to get around this corner guard and to force them in the second end.
Yeah. Do you like where the ice is here, Braden, that the skipper put down, or what do you think? Now
Pressure,
is the
he will
time.
rewatch.
No,
he will
now
watch
is the
this.
time. You curl 100% when you're behind the glass, and now is the time to make it happen.
Yeah, I think that ice is pretty good. I think this side does curl a lot more, so that is pretty good ice.
Yep.
For how much it does curl on this side.
And that's a politically correct answer there. He knows that Kyle's going to be watching this game after.
Yeah, interesting call on the switch here for Matt.
I like it.
I like it too, and I like that they see where the ice is curling, but they're confident that they can get it to move, and that's a great shot.
Yeah, and Matt's saying, you know what, you guys have been telling me that Griffin's sweeping's been amazing, so I'm going to show you that my sweeping is just as good.
No, exactly, Sam. It's something that all of the teams have put a great display of sweeping on throughout all 3 days we've been here.
And for Team Malima here, though it is only about a 3-foot run back, a big shot here, because if you can make this absolutely perfectly, you'll be sitting right behind your guard and setting up for your deuce.
Yeah.
And so for Kibo, being the lefty alert that we have.
You beat me to it, Sam. I was going to ask you if we have sounded the horn on the lefty alert, and I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Braden, do you have any left-handed throwers on your team?
No, we do not. We are all right-handed.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Not picking favorites.
No, but it's an interesting thing to keep in mind, especially
Absolutely.
when you're thinking about the leave. Whatever you leave, Kibo might be able to see more of, or potentially less.
Yeah,
but,
and we can ask Braden.
real close
We
here.
can ask Braden after a nice shot.
Gotta
and
get
a
that
big
out.
sweep to get that blue stone out of the rings. A couple more spins and a great sweep.
A great shot, great team shot.
Yeah, I like the weight that Kibo just had to throw there. He didn't overthrow it. And for Kyle, another attempt to maybe put this next draw just a little bit deeper and really get the force on here.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that's boding well, Sam, for Team Stratton right now is that was a great shot made by Team Malima, but all of a sudden that rock is now one rock higher. And if you're Team Stratton, you just threw that shot, you have an idea of what the ice is doing there. If you can bring it back for, to the tee line, it just makes the Team Alima shot more difficult. And I see Braden nodding his head saying, yes, I want the skipper. The skipper can put it right on the tee line with the help of Matt and Liam guiding it to where it needs to go. So
yeah, awesome.
All we have to do is watch now.
And as Braden, just as this end is starting to finish here, is there any shout outs that you want to give to either the parents back home or the coaches or sponsors or supporters?
Definitely to the parents on this team. We are all like very close. We all are just one big family. We care, and yet we're always there and to help each other. They take out a lot of time in order to get us to these events and to help us like improve, and with our coaches as well, from even not just from Tim, but from all the coaches from London. They're all very good people, and they all help us very much, and we couldn't be here without them. So
and a very nervy line call from Liam there, barely getting by that corner guard.
But Sam, I don't mind where that rock ended up, because the further back it is, the more difficult that run back becomes.
Yeah, and for Team Alima, it looks like they're just discussing the path to take for their 1 point and thinking about practice, and that's what Kibo decides, is that he's thrown this path in practice. Let's draw the pin here, take our 1 point, and tie the game.
Yeah. All right.
So big shot here by Kibo.
Yeah, and Sam, what are you thinking here about taking that, I believe it's just inside mid-12 foot, with the out turn for Kibo?
Yeah, like there's plenty of ice here. Not to curse him, I'm going to wait till he releases the stone.
we don't like the behind the glass curses.
But I don't see this rock over curling with how Kibo throws his out turn.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think the one thing they need to keep into consideration here is what the speed is like. Maybe the speed's a little different than what they've seen.
It looks like Jacob is head down sweeping to get this to the 4 foot.
Everything he can. Really go hard.
And just comes about 2 feet short, and a steal of 1 for Team Stratton.
And that was not due to a lack of effort by Jacob.
Absolutely not.
He was
sweep.
Everything he could, he was putting into that stone.
I 100% agree with you. So Team Alima, yes, you gave up the steal there, but you're only down 2, and there's 6 cents to play. There's tons of curling left.
Yeah.
So with an aggressive first call by Team Stratton, and Braden, maybe you can answer that. When you're up 2, the center guard, is that in the playbook for you guys?
Yes, we often go to a center guard.
Okay.
We love to go in and then just come in around it.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely, that's great. And we don't have to guess now as commentators, because we do have a teammate.
No, this is great. If both teams carried 5 players and we broadcasted every game they played, it'd be nice to have that insight.
And for Liam, just guiding this guard into the center, and a great shot from Matt there. And I know you guys have definitely discussed how important every player is on the ice and every shot, because curling is really, with the 5-off rules, really turned into a 4-person game where you can't hide any weak players. You need 4 solid curlers, and I know you guys probably talked about how important those lead stones are. You being the lead, you know exactly how important those lead stones are.
I love seeing his eyes just balloon as soon as Sam said that.
Yeah, the lead stones are very important.
Yeah.
It could completely change the outcome of the end.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Team Alima wanting this stone to kind of hit the brakes, and they decided that they want to make sure it's buried, so even if it's back 4, they're okay with it.
Yeah. Do you see if it's buried there, Sam?
Yeah, it's buried.
Yeah. It is. So
for Kyle and for Matt here, you guys making the final with 3 players all weekend, and I know for you, Braden, you obviously wanted to curl.
Oh yeah.
And it sucks that you can't, but watching Matt and Liam, and especially Matt, going from that second roll to now throwing lead stones. It is a big adjustment.
Yeah, it really is.
And you have any maybe criticisms or compliments for him?
Matt has done a great job all weekend. He has really done well with all of his shots and adjusting from throwing usually as second and usually more hits and that, but to more guards and draws. And he has done amazing all weekend. So big props to him.
Oh, yeah, and I think what we just saw, and Braden now understands how we feel, a little bit of that commentator's curse going on, singing Matt's praises, and all weekend we've seen great shot making, and it just seems like a little off the mark there, but I'm assuming, I know that the next one will be a lot better.
Yeah, and I'm sure as a team, Braden, that you guys talk about the adjustments you make on the ice, and I'm not sure, maybe you can tell us who, if not all of you, who is in charge of watching each draw path?
For the most part, that is Matt, as you can see him doing right now, actually. Yeah, he will always watch every path just to make sure that Kyle has the right line for every shot.
And a conversation we had in an earlier draw after a great sweep by Jacob to make that, but just biting top 12.
I think it's in Sam.
A conversation me and Ryan have had is that how often do you guys use your stopwatches?
Well, we use stopwatches basically every shot.
Okay, and that's exactly what we were talking about. With this level of U18, U20, and even adult curling, you see stopwatches a lot. And it might be a misconception because the pros, you don't see them use stopwatches as much. Right? Because a lot of these top level curlers are field curlers, and they play. The thing is, they play on arena ice every weekend in normal years. And so they're used to having that perfect ice conditions, where at a curling club, yes, here, great ice conditions, but draws get pathy at times. So it's good that you guys have that player in Matt to tell you that maybe this path is 2 feet slower than the path across from it. And this rock looks like it's hitting the brakes just in time.
Yeah. We'd like to see where that ends up. I think, again, just being nitpicky, because we have two really highly skilled teams here. I think just a little bit more curl. If you can get it over maybe a couple inches, and maybe just a little higher in the house too. But at the end of the day, where that rock ends up forces Team Malima to make a move on it.
And I know I'm asking a lot of you, Braden, but
welcome to my life.
Going into this game, you know that Team Malima has had a more of aggressive strategy than maybe your team does. So how do you combat that as a team? You know that you're going to be playing with rocks in play. So you have to be mentally prepared for those softer shots that you're going to have to make. And is that what you guys talk about before the game?
Yeah, we did mention that a little bit before the game. We did mention how they do play differently than we do, and that we will have to adjust at some point. We will be trying to stick with our game plan as much as we can, but we will adjust when we have to.
Yeah, and just sorry to cut you off, Sam. I love to hear that word, adjust. I think that word is the premise of our sport in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think we've said that word about 300 times this weekend.
At least.
Yeah, but it's absolutely the biggest part of curling.
So, looking at it now, that's Liam throwing that rock, right, Braden?
Yes, that's Liam.
Awesome. I think they're, what, did you see the call? I thought it was a 3-4 maybe?
I think it's like drawing down to it, or no, it's definitely up top now.
Yeah, it seems to be moving a little bit extra.
Yeah, it definitely overcurled a little bit. Got a little bit of a bump there.
Yeah, I think that bump is really helping Team Stratton. I think a call that Sam and I have been really putting forward, and where we're not as defensive curlers as we sound, but I really like the peel, and just like,
yeah, I like that. I like the way they're coming at it too.
Yeah, I like that double peel. I really like trying to move both of those pieces of granite out front and try to open it up to give Kibo a last shot. Because if I'm Team Malima and I'm Kibo, I'm thinking, okay, I've had a few difficult shots, and that comes with the job as a skip, as both Sam and I know. But let's keep it open. Let's put 1, if not 2, points on the board here. So,
and Kibo's calling them right off. And though we didn't make the double peel, you didn't jam on that top yellow one either.
Yes.
For Team Stratton, we talk about the stat, and Braden, I'd like to hear you say. We've been talking about the make after misses strat a lot this weekend.
Stat, yeah.
Stat, and is that something that you guys as a team look at?
We look at like all of the stats. Really.
Yeah. Okay.
We look at everything after every game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We just see what we did right and what we have to work on and all that sort of stuff.
And that's great. And that's just, both of these teams are well coached, and I know the coaches can hear us, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
But
big kudo to the coaches as they give that kind of kinship coaching stare to each other, saying, "Yeah, we're doing good."
But that make after misses stat, I'm sure both coaches run through your teams, because it is the difference in the game usually, especially when two of these highly skilled teams go against each other.
Yeah.
And that rock just over curling on Team Stratton and on Liam there. Mm-hmm. And for Team Alima, after missing the peel, which we liked that they called the peel.
Yes.
I don't mind now that hole is there to try and get back 8. Yeah, like Kibo just said, back 8, back 12. Wait to tap that blue one and maybe sit 2 after this shot.
I know Braden beside me is like, but I really do think this is the shot for Team Kibo. I think trying to get in there now that it's a little bit more opened up than it was since the last time Team Alima, specifically Jake, has thrown. So I wouldn't mind getting in there and putting the pressure on Team Stratton. And an early line call, Kibo asking Griffin to get on that right away. Oh, whoa.
Big whoa call, and this should warp in there.
That's a whoa if I've ever heard one, Sam.
And though Kibo does stay shot stone, the most important part about that shot is you do change the angles. You get that Team Stratton stone off the button.
Yep. And a piece of positivity there is, yes, Kibo was calling whoa, and Griffin was sweeping, maybe a little bit hard to hear with these things that everyone's wearing now called masks, but you saw what the result of the shot was, and you say, Griffin said to Kibo, yeah, that's my bad. And it's great to see that level of accountability, especially at this young age.
Yeah, and a question for Braden is that this year with mandatory masks being a part of the game, and I know you're trying to watch this shot come down through the hole, so I'll ask you right after this, hoping for it to maybe curl a little bit for Team Stratton.
It's close.
Looks like we got the job done. And stuck around, which is huge, because now that blue isn't quite as lonely in that back 4 foot.
Yeah, there are 2 yellow biters, Sam, so that's a huge hit and stick.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to go back to my question is, how have you guys adapted communication-wise by wearing the mask? Sometimes you can't hear the yelling quite as much, so what do you guys do?
We have tried doing more like signals and that, so that if we're like sweeping, we will like have a way of communicating if it's like heavy, light, or if it's inside or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We have a way of communicating about it so that we can like work on it and get it still to be somewhat decent.
Yeah, and that's awesome. It's really important as a team to discuss that, because it is a new factor that we deal with now in curling, and we'll probably be using this for a while. And though that shot wasn't the called shot, a good plan B, if you will, that Team Alima did tap their Yellowstone into second shot behind those center guards. And now with that happening, Kyle has to put this, and team has to put this stone in a pretty particular spot. Hopefully, and I know Braden's hoping for a top 4 foot, half buried, if not fully buried in the top 4. And that's great. So as a team, you guys talk about pre-shot routine a lot, Braden?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's really important to learn, especially at U15, U18 level, is to establish that routine that you have as a player.
Yeah.
And as a lead, I know that you're at the beginning of the end. You need to be in the hack right away because of time, and especially when you get to that provincial level, you're on clocks.
Yes.
And you have to be ready right away, but you also do need a routine. And as you see, Kyle is really settling into the hack. I'm assuming that's his routine,
yes,
taking that time.
He takes his time in it.
Yeah.
I think Braden might have prefaced that with maybe a little too much time. but every once in a while, as us fellow skips, we know maybe we're a little bit of divas, but that's fine.
Yeah. And I know one of my past coaches obviously have told me that the skip does deserve the most time in the hack.
Yes.
And that's why the lead and second probably have to be a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So though Kyle's routine is slower than yours, and a great shot, great shot.
Great shot.
Yeah, it's
exactly where me and Braden talked about, right? Biting the top 4 foot buried, or half buried at least.
Yeah, he didn't even mention me. You're taking my job, man. Like, come on.
Sorry.
That's all you've heard from Ryan Hahn this weekend.
Yeah.
And for Team Malima, kind of decision time here.
Yeah.
You do have hammer, and to go top button is a very particular shot, but I believe it is the call here. Try to maybe even freeze.
Sam, I think getting in there is a good call, but I think the freeze isn't ideal for Team Malima, because if they put the freeze there, and you might see Team Stratton follow them down, and I don't know, and Braden's like, yeah, the freeze is fine, but I'm just maybe cutting off the scoring zone, but I like getting in there. I think it might be a little bit too late to rearrange those guards. What do you think?
Absolutely, and I think that's what Griffin was telling him, is that, you know what, we only have 2 stones left, we need to score, we need to get on the board.
Yes.
So let's make this draw, put this top button, if not, put this frozen to the blue one, and make Kyle follow me down.
Yeah.
And we've seen Kibo already have good draw weight, and though his last draw in the second end came about 2 feet short, I believe he's going to make that adjustment, and that's what him and Jacob are talking about right now.
Yeah.
And lefty alert.
We've already called lefty alert.
I know, but he has more of the rock on this side than the righties, right? And,
Good point.
It is his intern. So this should curl up nicely.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to all the curlers. We talk about pace of play being a huge deal, and looking at the pace of play across all 4 sheets, they're really being decisive and making those decisions. But back to our game here, I think Kibo needs to get one close right now.
Absolutely.
And Jacob's doing everything he can to hold that line
Big
for his
sweep
team
here. Though trying to get by that front one,
it's really close.
Though he rubbed, if maybe trying to get a little bit of a spin,
yeah,
you do create a little bit more space there.
You do, and I think where it ended up, because it's shot stone, you can't see Team Stratton ignore it, which is something that bodes well for Team Malima. They know that they're probably going to have somewhat of a similar shot to what they just threw, and Kibo had the right weight on that, so I wouldn't mind seeing that 2-3 inch adjustment in the broom, and it's gold.
Absolutely agree with you. For Team Stratton and for Braden, obviously a nose hit is great here. You do get the job done with the nose hit, but if you could roll under just a little bit, make Kibo's draw that much harder, and I'm sure that's what Kyle's goal is here.
Yeah. So final stone by Team Stratton in the 3rd end, with Team Malima having hammer. Matt's called on. It seems to really be moving, Sam.
Maybe a little bit farther than a roll that they wanted, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, and I think if you're Team Stratton, you're saying, look, that was a nice shot made by Team Malima, even if it wasn't in the perfect spot. And now you have the force on, and considering it's an even end, if you're Team Stratton, I think you're okay with the force, Sam.
Absolutely agree with you. And for Kibo and his confidence, like you were talking about, give that, and it looks like he has given that
love to
2
see the
to
adjustment.
3 inches more ice.
Yep.
And similar weight here to make this draw to the button for his point and to keep the game tight.
Yes. And I think this is one of those moments in the game. I know it's a little early on, but it could be a shot that swings the momentum in this game. As a skip, you never want to draw against multiple of the other team, but knowing that you have that weight and that ability to make it, it's a huge confidence boost.
Absolutely agree with you. Big shot for Kibo as we watch him settle into the hack here. Just a compliment, not only Griffin sweeping it, and all 8 players sweeping, even though you don't see the skips doing any of that.
No, and Jacob is putting his whole body weight into it.
Whole effort into this.
He knows this shot is important, and go really just
up short.
Yeah, score of 2 blue, but I'm not counting Team Malima out of this, Sam.
Not at all.
They have the ability to bring rocks in play, and I think this is where our time with Braden comes to an end. So Braden, Sam and I really appreciate you coming on the show, giving us that insider perspective on your team, and we wish nothing but good shot making to both teams.
We know you have some hard work taking some notes, so enjoy doing that for the rest of the game.
Okay. Thank you guys both for having me here. It was a great time. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
For the Team Malima fans at home, yes, you're seeing a 4-0 lead for Team Stratton, and obviously not the start you wanted, but as a team, you still have 5 ends to play, which is a ton of time, and you want to just throw this corner up and really focusing on getting your deuce. Obviously, you'd like to score more than 2 points if you can get the 3 or 4 ender, which we have seen this weekend multiple times, but really focusing on making 8 stones, putting that pressure on Team Stratton, and focusing on getting your deuce here. And Griffin in that hack, throwing this stone. Griffin's calling heavy here, hoping that maybe the curl grabs it. And just to update on the rest of the sheets, if we can get the screen up there.
The power of the tech gods coming in clutch there.
And it isn't 0-0 across all 5 sheets. So just a little technical issues, and that's okay. For sheet 1, you have Team Jones leading Team Murray 3-1 with Team Murray having hammer. On sheet 4, you have Team Dobson leading Team Mayville 4-0, and with Mayville having hammer, and you have a close game on sheet 5, seeing Team Hastings leading Team Stockton 3-2. And just to update sheet 5, they finished the 3rd end, and Team Stockton gets their one with hammer, so it is 3-3. I like the strategy from Team Stratton. I like the strategy from Team Stratton that they decided to go 2 rocks in the top 4 foot. And I understand now why we had technical issues is with a little bit of rain and high winds in the area of Dundas Valley here, the club's Wi-Fi has gone down. So the reason why the live stream is still on is we have a hotspot here for the live stream just to give you guys the best video quality we have. So we're going to be able to update those scores, and sorry for everyone back home. We didn't notice the Wi-Fi was out until just now. So as soon as we get onto this hotspot with the iPad, the scores will be updated. And I did just update on the live stream, but for everyone back home that maybe can't watch live stream, I'm sure they're kind of sitting on their hands wondering where these score updates are. So we'll be getting the iPad set up on the hotspot. And back to the game, a big sweep by Jacob here to try and... I like the weight they decided to throw. Though they only hit a quarter of that stone and didn't need to eliminate anything, you kept your shooter in play and you jiggled around those blues in the front forefoot. So a great call by Kibo there, understanding that yes, we're down 4, but these blue stones are in a really good spot for them and we want to score here. So that's a great strategy call by Kibo. And what we've seen, kind of this trend of Liam and Matt focusing on these big sweeps, and that's a great sweep by Liam. And for Kibo, I like that he's playing the hit and roll here. He knows that these blue stones are in a great spot. Let's utilize that corner guard that we have and make a hit and roll.
Shout out to Sam Steep. He's an IT specialist and he's fixing just some minor details, some minor inconveniences we're having right now. Let me tell you, Sam's one of the best conveners you could work with, and I really appreciate him taking care of this issue for us.
Some people might think that's sarcasm, but I know he's telling the truth.
Anyways, back to the game. That's what we're here to do. So it looks like we're seeing Liam ask for a guard here. And Matt seems to think it's a little bit heavy, but the side should move. So we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, it's maybe a little bit of an audible here.
And though we were trying to fix our technical difficulties, it was a great hit and roll by Team Malima. And now an amazing freeze.
Yeah.
Because you really set up those angles really good if you're Team Stratton. And if you're Team Malima, you're just trying to create that space. Kind of come back. I love this call by Kibo. Come back with back 8 weight. Tap our yellow so that blue one isn't glued on it anymore.
Yeah. Sam, this is a really mature shot call by Team Malima. They understand that they might be... Oh, and they're giving a little bit more ice. On this side, I never hate seeing that. But really mature shot call. He understands that that freeze isn't really doing him any good, but if he can get one in there and kind of unlock that back stone, he'll be able to move around some of those blue rocks, which is what Team Malima is trying to do right now. Sam, I don't I don't mind where that rock ended up. It's in a really tricky spot for Team Stratton to remove there. And I think Kyle is, it looks like he's trying to tap it back with that kind of back 8 weight.
We've been treated by a lot of great shots this end. Everything's being called as being made. And early in the season, you just like to see that.
And here we see Matt on the outside of the rock trying to get it to finish in, sweeping with the grain to try to get as much movement out of the stone as he can. And not the result that they were looking for, but it just speaks to the quality of that rock placement by Team Malima on the last one. So it looks like we're going to have all 3 on-ice team members of Team Malima discuss the next shot call here. And I know we don't have a camera inside the glass, but I love to see how engaged these players that are sitting off as well with their coaches. What do you see here? What shot would you call if you were out there on the ice? And I think that just speaks to the attention to detail these 2 teams in our championship final have. So for those listening at home, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with the LiveScore system, but we will give you an update. I will give you an update on the broadcast. So you're stuck with me. On sheet 1, we're seeing Team Jones leading Team Murray 4 points to 1. Team Murray has Hammer playing the 4th. And then on sheet 4, we have a 4-2 game. We have Team Mayville again. Team Mayville, one sec. No. Team Dobson leading Team Mayville 4 points to 2. And on sheet 5, we have a really close game, folks. We have a 3-3 bout between Team Stockton and Team Hastings. And it looks like Team Hastings has final stone in the 4th end. Now, shifting back to our game, it looks like we have Team Malima shot stone back side of the button, and Liam's been asked to play a shot kind of bringing the rock into that button area and maybe jiggle around where that yellow stone is. I think, Liam seems to think it's a little bit heavy, maybe a smidge wide, but it's really cutting in there. Oh. And I tell you, you could not walk that rock down the ice and place it in a better spot. And just as Team Kibo had Team Stratton on the run with that perfectly placed yellow rock, Liam says, anything you can do, I can do better. And I love to see that, especially at this U18 extremely competitive level. So it looks like Team Kibo, or pardon me, Team Malima is looking at a way to kind of get that rock off of the button and sit in front.
Unless we throw less weight, I like it. Like, we might be able to just get it to there and then use it. I like the
realize what I was missing, because I never knew I was only 8 months. So I just sort of assumed it was real until I grew up and realized that it wasn't. Being around people that actually knew her, and when we talk about her, I think that's when I feel her most, or even when I'm curling myself, I can feel it with me. It was always pretty cool as a way to know her without knowing her. To see that someone would want to have a foundation in her honor just shows that she must have been such a caring person. Please support the Sandra Schmirler Foundation so that these miracle babies can have the chance to grow up and enjoy life like my mom did.
So interestingly enough here, we have Team Stratton sitting on the button and back forefoot. Team Kibo's looking at maybe moving one of those rocks that are in the front scoring area. And they discussed maybe we'll throw the draw in that path, and I don't know if you can get shot with the draw. Yeah, and I think Griffin just kind of laid that out for Kibo. Yeah, and I think I like this timeout call by Team Malima. It speaks to just the degree of difficulty of this whole end. Team Kibo placed that Yellowstone in a great spot, and then Team Stratton was able to detach it from the freeze and then bump it back so it's not as much of a threat. So it'll be interesting to see if we can listen in on what the coaches are saying right now. probably the best outcome that Team Malima could get out of that stone. Kibo coming down to the face of that blue stone, tapping it back so that on the next shot, Kibo can throw his next shot, move that blue rock out of the button, and score their single point. And the quality of curling these athletes are putting on is quite the show. It's one shot. And thanks for the patience for everyone back home that wants to see the scores of every other game. We're just trying to figure out our technical difficulties that we've had since the Wi-Fi at the club has went down. For Team Stratton, I like this guard call, trying to protect the blue ones around the forefoot, so Team Malima has a tough shot for 2. Or a tough shot for 1. I didn't quite see the angle there right away. For Team Malima, it's decision time. Do we play a heavy draw on that curl side and tap that yellow to make sure we score, which I believe is the call, or do we play this blue into yellow tap as well? And I think that's what Griffin and Kibo are talking about, if we can listen in here. And me and Ryan have said it before, but a very mature call by Kibo Malima here. Back 8, back 12 weight, just tapping their yellow into that blue one and making sure they score. It is a highly difficult shot, but the right call. A big sweep here. I'm trying to make this curl. And a great shot by Team Malima, a great shot by Kibo to get their 1 yellow and get on the board. Huge shot to stay in this game. And just to update the rest of the scores, since our app is down right now, on sheet 1, thank you. On sheet 1, you see Team Jones lead Team Murray 4-1 after 4 ends. On sheet 4, you see Team Mayville with a steal of 3 in the 4th end. So Team Mayville is up 5-4 over Team Dobson. And on sheet 5,
you see Team Hastings leading 6-3 over Team Stockton. And back to our stream sheet, Team Lima, a huge shot in that fourth end to get on the board. Though you're down 3, that might just swing the motivation to your favor going into these last 4 ends, confidence-wise. And I like the center guard thrown up by Team Lima, knowing that maybe we need to start stealing a little bit, and if not, get that force here in this 5th end. And for Team Stockton, mission accomplished in that 4th end, forcing Team Lima to 1 and having that 3-point lead with hammer. So I like that they're calling the draw around the center guard, asking Liam head down sweeping this whole way. And this is going to be a big sweep for Liam to get as close to the rings as possible, as Kyle's asking. And it seems like we're figuring out our technical issues as Ryan Hahn is on the phone with our tech guy, Stephen Orr, who is at home, ready to help us as soon as we call him. And we appreciate Stephen's hard work and what he does for the Junior Slam Series. The system that we have online would not be there without Stephen. So we're grateful for Stephen and being a part of the Junior Slam Series. And back to our game, you see Jacob with a big sweep to get this buried between those 2 center guards. And we were talking about this last draw about how these teams have learned how to directionally sweep, where if you're at home as a parent, maybe not knowing what that means, is Jacob was sweeping that stone and sweeping at a 45-degree angle towards that center line, trying to make that yellow rock curl as much as possible. And you see that on TV, you see the pros do it, and every level you see it. And this U18, U15 level is where you learn how to do that. And that's a great sweep by Jacob. And just like Jacob was trying to make it curl, Liam is now sweeping at that 45-degree angle the opposite way, trying to keep it straight. And a great sweep by Liam. And I remember it was not long ago where directional sweeping wasn't a thing, and the sport of curling has really evolved in the last 5 years, where the pros and the big teams really learned how to directional sweep, and it's worked its way down all the way from the very top level in our sport to the younger teams, and really learning how to sweep. And it's such a big aspect of the sport. And with both of these teams playing with 3 players because of a concussion and a stomach issue, that maybe Jack doesn't want me to promote that, but another big sweep by Jacob, and I think Jacob's going to be hungry on the way home. I like this peel by Stratton. They're recognizing that Team Lima has a good stone in that top 8-foot control zone area that we talk about. And so, and we've talked about this before, as soon as you're in one shot in trouble, which Team Stratton now is one shot in trouble, let's get rid of those guards, open this up, we have a 3-point lead with hammer, make sure at least one of these guards disappear. looks like we're starting to figure out our technical issues, and we were maybe blaming Stephen Orr's app a little bit, but it absolutely was not his.
No,
his
see,
software.
I just got off the phone with Stephen, and Stephen said, "No, boys, this one's on you." So we'll take the blame for this one, but we do have the first half of each game posted, and what a great sweep by Griffin here, and
a trend we've really been seeing all weekend by these sweepers across all 8 teams here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's official. We are back live. Yes, we like to see that. Okie dokes.
I'd like to pass a little bit of the blame on one of Byron Scott's 4 iPads that he has. we ended up picking the faulty one.
Yeah, let's not throw him under the bus too much now, Sam, or else we might not be the curling masters after the end of this tournament. But I
think the viewers have our back.
Yeah, I think we've established enough of the following, both in person and online, to support us. But looking back at the game here, I believe Jake is looking for that tight zone 3 guard, trying to wrap it around that zone 2.5 guard by Team Stratton. And I tell you, Griffin, the walking CN Tower himself.
Oh my God.
Maybe not the best metaphor, but that's fine. It puts it basically where the skipper wanted the rock, and now the pressure is on Team Malima. And Sam, and look at the quality of play that we have had sustained through the first 4 ends, and now all of a sudden, Team Malima gets on the board, and there's still rocks in play, and we've seen big scores throughout the whole game.
Absolutely. This game, though the scoreboard says 4-1 for Stratton, this game is a lot closer than it seems. We've seen a lot of amazing shots by both teams, and I look forward to this peel. I love that Kyle's asking Liam to make this peel, maybe even make a double peel, so big shot here.
And that is an excellent shot. And let me tell you, all of a sudden, the house clears and blue sitting 1. And if you would have told me that before that rock was thrown, I wouldn't have been super convinced, Sam, to be honest. That's a high degree of difficulty to make that shot.
A great shot by Liam. And if I'm Team Malima here and I'm Kibo, yes, they just made a great shot. You tip their hat to them.
Yes.
And you still have those 2 center guards where you put this top 4 buried and then still advantage Team Malima in this end. So a big shot here by Jacob.
Boys, pretty good. Keep your top 4. Line's good. Switch. Hasn't curled yet.
And it'll be interesting to see that we did have Braden on, and we're about to have Jake on, and a big sweep here. Jack on. Sorry, Jack. But a big sweep here by Jacob. I was trying to say Jacob and then had Jack on the mind.
Yeah, so just every pronunciation.
All these
of that
J's being
possible.
thrown around. The English language sometimes gets hard. So a big shot here for Liam. He did just make that run back, but to clear that front open, but you definitely want to make this hit and stick or even a hit and roll here if you're Team Stratton.
Oh, Sam, I think we're seeing the audible here. I think they want to roll away. And just a little flop away. I don't mind that.
Yeah, and if I'm Kyle Stratton, obviously a great audible, but I would have liked to have seen that called maybe 5 to 10 feet sooner, just to get that roll a little bit farther out.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely nitpicking at them for being the first event of the season.
Yeah.
But just for learning purposes, And I think you'll see that later on the season. Kyle will do that.
Mm-hmm.
And for Team Lima and for Kibo, take advantage of rolling under these center guards and putting the pressure back on Kyle Stratton here.
Line's good. Whoa. Got curl. No curl.
And this stone maybe drifting a little straighter than Team Lima wanted. and Griffin cheering on that stone to roll out. Or was that Kyle? I'm not exactly sure. Probably Kyle.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought it was Liam, but who knows? The stone wasn't having any of it, as it's still there, so.
For Team Stratton and for Kyle, this is a must-make shot solely because if you don't beat Team Lima to this top 4 foot, they'll gladly make that on their last shot in this end. For
Team Stratton looks a little tight out of Kyle's hand, is what
big
Liam said.
sweep here by Matt.
Yeah, just a reoccurring pattern. Oh, now we're looking to try to get that little bit of extra finish. I like how they waited. Oh,
Matt said, it's not there.
Matt
I
said,
have a
"This
lot
is-"
more rocks to sweep. I'm going to take a little break.
No, exactly, and I think Matt gets the MVP award for a lot of all of those teams. I think we had a couple teams, Sam, that had 3 throwers, and shout out to all of those single sweepers, those lead/second throwers in the 3-person rotation. They definitely deserve
Absolutely, it's
some credit.
And I think Braden owes Matt a lunch.
Yes.
Because Matt's been working hard all weekend long with Team Stratton having to play with 3 players for all weekend, and Team Lima the later half of the weekend having to play with 3 players. It's not easy.
No, it's not. And
we noticed some of the girls, the last girls draw, we had 2 teams having to play with 3 as well, and they've
Yes.
noticed how difficult it is.
it's just very tiring.
Yeah.
So
No doubt Matt and both teams are going to sleep well tonight after a hard-fought championship final.
yeah, and I think if I'm in the Team Lima camp, I'm looking at the last 2 shots that our skipper threw in the 4th end, and I have confidence. And if you look at the setup in the house right now, Sam, Team Lima needs a bite of the 8 foot to be shot stone. And if Team Lima can get 1 stone lost behind that kind of scattered wall we see up there, Team Stratton's in for a tough one. And knowing Kibo, I've seen him play, and the draw wait's there. Oh, and we see our second timeout.
I think you're going to see Team Lima discuss maybe playing the hit and roll on that outside right one. And Kibo just said, I'm not sure if you could have heard that from home, but I want to make sure this is a risk we have to take. And it's a great time to talk to your coach about it, and I agree that I like him talking to your coach about this, but I think it is a risk that you do have to take.
Sam, I'm looking at the scoreboard, and those lovely live up-to-date scoreboards, I think they look very close to up-to-date. Brought to you in part by Stephen Orr. He came in clutch there, filling out some of the scoreboards and we'll do our best to stay live and keep them updated as well. So, interesting change of call here. You're going to see Team Malima hit that mostly wide open blue stone and try to roll under those guards. A huge sweep here by Jake. And it looks like it was... Yeah, there's just one blue stone in the house right.
Yeah, for Team Stratton, we talk about how big extra points are. And though you may look at the scoreboard and say we're up 3, this extra point draw here, even though it is to paint, is a huge point in the game. For Team Stratton, a big second point, like we talked about, leading 6-1 in this championship final. But as we've seen this whole weekend, there's been a ton of big scores, and definitely Team Malima is not out of it. And Griffin, and I think if I'm Team Malima and I'm Kibo, I just want to remember that we make 8 stones here. We're going to get our first multiple with Hammer and bring the game closer. And that's exactly their goal here in this all-important 6th end, is definitely to score 2, but if I'm Team Malima, obviously I'm thinking about that 3-4.
You're on that side. Right here. About to finish?
And Sam, although the scoreboard might not be in Team Malima's favor at this moment, I love to still hear that great communication. Kibo saying to Jacob, that was a great sweep, and that's what we like to see.
Yeah, Absolutely. And still dealing with maybe a little bit of technical issues for our live scores, just to update the parents at home. But for this end, we're going to bring in a Team Malima member once his mic is set up here, and it'll be great. I know the game isn't going the way they want it to, but we talk about that make after miss stat, and Team Stratton, though the tolerance was heavy, you do get a miss from Team Stratton if you're Team Malima, and big shot for Griffin to try and split the guards here and get those 2 corner guards that they need to score their multiple points.
Yeah, and I think now is a great part in the game. Can we just get the camera quickly to look in on us, guys? And here we have Jack, the vice on Team Malima. Jack, how's it going today?
Good, yeah. Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. So, it's an interesting circumstance right now. So coming into this game, yes, this isn't the score line that your team is envisioning, but something that Sam and I have remarked all throughout this tournament is how big scores are always alive.
Yeah.
And I think your team has done a really good job at being one of the leading teams to manufacture those.
Yeah.
So if you're out there with the guys right now, what's the conversation? What are you saying, and what's the focus right now?
Well, I think it's really just to keep going and keep playing. Eventually, you know, we're going to start making some shots and just get back into the game. And we don't need it to all come in one end, you know, just get our 2 and get that momentum going and really just start chipping at that lead.
No, I think that's great, Jack. And I think if you look at what happened in the 4th, your team really dug in on the last 2 rocks of that and manufactured 2 perfect shots to score a point in a really tricky situation. And I feel like that started to tip the momentum in your favor. And then all of a sudden, the vice on Team Stratton made an excellent shot, a run back double, and it left your team not in the best position. But right now, as we see in front of us, we have those 2 yellow corner guards, which what do you think about those? Do you like the setup you have in the first 4 stones?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. We have all 4 rocks in play out of 5. We have some blues to work with, which is really good, and we got those corner guards, which is good. So we know it's going to take 2 rocks for them to kind of clean those guards up, and that gives us some time to set angles up and really get something going.
Yeah, and I think another thing I really like for Team Malima right now is, yes, they're down a few points, but if you look at the position of both of those corner guards, they're both very splittable rocks.
Yeah,
and I think looking at the scoreboard, being able to kind of have those multiple ways to score multiple points is going to be huge for your team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're always kind of looking at any way we can get points, and it doesn't necessarily need to be from really kind of simple from the book end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at this call by Team Stratton. I like the call. It's very mature, but I think one thing Team Stratton needs to take into consideration here is this is a 6th end. If Team Malima can manufacture, I think a 3 would be what the doctor ordered here for Team Malima. So it's one of those interesting situations where Team Stratton really needs to focus on house management and seeing potentially what rocks are left in the house. And we see that peel made there. What would you like the skipper to call here? Do you like that draw behind the corner guard?
Yeah, I'm not on the ice. I don't know how the boys are feeling right now.
Yeah.
But I think it can go either way. It depends how much more we want this end to play out. I think drawing behind, we're kind of forcing the end to start playing out sooner.
Yep.
So it's whether they're feeling that or they want to delay a little bit and then kind of take a shot at getting those 2 blues out later in the end.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great observation, Jack. And I think the one thing I like about this is that a couple of the times over the course of, this is our 11th draw, so we've seen just a little bit of curling.
Yep.
And sometimes we've seen teams throw the corner guard, but not necessarily use it. And I really like to see Team Malima, although yes, there's a little bit of cluster in the front. Oh, can we get the audible here? What a great audible by your team. That's a heads-up play, and you need that the most right now, because now Team Stratton really has to think. If you peel that corner guard, you're saying, I'm comfortable with leaving 2 potential counters for Team Malima in the rings, and I don't know. What do you see here, Jack? Do you like maybe removing, if you're playing for Team Stratton, what do you see here?
Well, you're in a tricky spot. I think if you're feeling confident in making the double, it's probably the best shot.
Yep.
But again, it's what you feel comfortable with, and I think really just removing a yellow on this shot makes it simpler. Probably ripping the guard if you're wanting to make a simpler shot, but the double is probably the best outcome.
And so
looks like that floated out a bit.
So that one looked a little wide, and I think all of a sudden the momentum, the balloon just got popped. All of a sudden, Team Malima sitting 2, and the complexion of the whole end changes. And I think maybe instead of considering the double, a little bit more of a higher degree of difficulty, maybe just trying to make sure you get one of them, or maybe even just peeling that corner guard. And I think, did you see the shot call here? Are they throwing to the open wing?
I think they're trying to freeze.
Back four weight is the weight call that we're hearing.
Yeah, so I think just drawing to the wing and trying to see if they can maybe get a miss and a jam later in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like this call. I like that idea of kind of spreading out the house. And all of a sudden, this is a huge shot for Team Malima. Sam and I, this whole tournament, have been talking about makes after misses, and Griffin is putting everything into this rock to make it as perfect as possible. And I like to hear that communication of, we want it flat, boys, all you got. A great sweep by Griffin here, and you're sitting 3. And if you're Team Malima, if single hits are made and you're exchanging rocks, that's a 3 spot on the board.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's really the goal of this end. I do like the call there from Kibo at the end there to plow. So actually, 2 weeks ago, we had the opportunity with the cancellation of the Athena Slam to go to a great camp in Kitchener-Waterloo.
Okay.
And we really worked on our sweeping there, which I heard you guys were touching on a lot. And that's definitely something we really wanted to develop. So just working on kind of our sweeping strategy and what's the best way to sweep.
Yep.
And I think throughout this game and tournament, that's really been paying off for us. Definitely making a lot of shots with our sweeping.
Yeah, no, and I think that's something that a lot of these top teams, regardless of what age level you're at, is getting those sweepers involved in these key shots and making, and by doing so, I feel like you take a little bit of the pressure off of the thrower and say, you know what, we're confident in our sweeping ability to manipulate the rock how we'd like to.
Yeah, for sure. Just knowing that you can be tolerant and you can be tight or light really helps you as the thrower and makes it so you don't have to make every shot as perfect.
Yeah. Oh. And I think Kibo sees that split. What do you think about the split there? Yeah. I know. I'm putting you a bit under the gun.
I think that it's a good shot. I think that the degree of difficulty is definitely high.
Yes.
And I think for our team, that's something that we definitely want to do is keep ends simple.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're down 5 points, you don't have an opportunity to do that as much.
Yeah.
And you maybe have to play a bit more difficult shots. But I think that maybe just drawing around the blue and trying to stay in front of the house. But I don't mind this call.
Yeah, I think if you look at,
I think that'll be the end result on this shot.
Yeah, I think we're looking for the breaks here.
And for Team Lima, though, that does glide farther than they want. It's another yellow stone in the house where when you do want to score that 2-3 points that you're looking for,
yeah,
that is definitely mission accomplished, because Team Alima, you are sitting shots at least 1, maybe 2, and shot 4. So that's exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, too, there's a lot of shrapnel back there, and there's a lot of jam possibilities. And I think if you're Team Stratton, if Kyle's throwing this shot, and I think if you're Kyle, you're thinking just that kind of crisp, clean, straight release, and I think that's the best way to kind of not deal with kind of, pardon my terrible English, as you can tell, kind of negate all the risk at the back of the house and just focus on removing a yellow. But as Jack's sitting here beside us, it's obvious that that's not what he's looking for here, so we'll just have to wait and see what this shot produces.
It does seem like that spot is maybe running a bit straighter.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation.
Great shot.
Yeah, a great double there, but interestingly enough, Team Alima sitting second and third shot, and if you're Team Alima, that's great. I think generating that 3 spot, that just catapults you right back into contention.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the interesting call here will be how long Kibo and team, well, Griffin, who's in the house, decides to leave that blue stone. If they're going to hit it on this one and try to make that roll, or maybe just the straight draw, see if they can get an unforced error out of Team Stratton and have an open hit for 4.
Yeah, for sure. I think that probably what Kibo's thinking right now is that we don't want to leave that guard there without anything behind it.
Yep.
Because Kyle may just draw behind. It's a very aggressive call.
Yep.
But if it's made, then you're throwing a pretty difficult run back to try and score. So I think Kibo is probably going to try and roll under that to cut off his draw.
Jack, being so kind, is really helping us through all these technical difficulties. He's feeling those technical pains that both Sam and I are experiencing, but we're doing our best to get through this. And it looks like the hit and roll was the call here. Oh, and you breathe in a huge sigh of relief if you're a Team Alima supporter. All of a sudden, you're sitting 3 rocks. They're spread around the house, and Team Stratton has to be careful. If you're gonna make a play at that top Yellowstone, there's a lot of jam potential.
Yeah, I think right now it looks like Kyle is maybe looking at the double, which is definitely interesting. I think that it's a good call if it's made, but again, like you said, Ryan, just watching the stones that are in the back of the house there and making sure that you're not jamming and bringing that extra point into play is very important here.
Yeah. Jack, it seems like you might have brought your team a little bit of good fortune coming over to the commentary booth.
Well, we definitely needed a little boost of energy there to get us going. So.
And we've really seen this side take off curling, and a huge hold here by Matt, putting everything he can to get that to work out, and they're getting the roll, and I believe that blue stone is shot, but if I'm Team Alima, this is a huge point in the game right now. If you can get your first...
Yeah, I mean, definitely a big swing point here. getting that 3 and really just getting back into the game, I think, is the goal.
Yeah.
And it allows you to not have to reach too much in the later ends. You know, you're still good with a force and a 3 to bring it to an extra end, or in this case, a draw to the button.
Yeah, exactly, Jack. And I think, so you're the vice on this team regularly, correct? So if you could telepathically send some messaging to Griffin, what is that conversation that they just had together? What would you say to Kibo in that moment?
Well, I think right now and this weekend with Kibo, we've really just been stressing putting the broom in the right spot, and really just being confident where we're putting the broom and just throwing at it well, because obviously we know that we're able to do that. So I'm guessing that's what that conversation was, and hopefully they came up with the right spot here.
Yep. Easy.
Oh, okay. Got a live look behind here. It's looking close.
Should be close not to jam.
And you hate to see that. There was a great setup for Team Malima, and unfortunately it just didn't pan out.
Yeah, unfortunate miss there. Really tough miss, and it really does take a lot of momentum when you have a good opportunity like that, and it doesn't work out. And I think that's game. Really good game by both sides there. Really proud of the guys for kind of sticking through those 2 games, and especially Jacob and Griffin having to sweep alone out there. Obviously, didn't want to miss those 2 games and some of the game last night, but proud that they were able to make it this far and put in a really good effort this game. And of course, congrats to Team Stratton for a really good game and good showing there.
And I just wanted to say, Jack, it's really great to see the level of camaraderie that you have for your opposition. Yes, your team didn't get the result you were looking for, but the fact that you're able to stay composed and say, know what, they did play a little bit better, maybe got a little bit more fortunate here or there, and honestly, man, that's a huge skill to have moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we play the game to have fun, and it's much funner when you're playing people that are fun to play against, right? So yeah, we love all the teams we play, and the better they play, the more it challenges us, and we really like that challenge. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much for being with us, Jack. Team Kibo had a great showing. We've watched you play live, and I think both teams have nothing but to be proud of their showing in this event.
Yeah, for sure. I think both teams had a really good event, and I'm really proud of us, and I'm proud from Stratton as well. Obviously, we played them last year and knew they were going to be a great team this year, and I'm looking forward to playing them throughout the rest of the season.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to take a quick sponsor break here, but Jack, thank you for being with us, and we sincerely appreciate your insights into your team, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. See you guys soon.
Sandra was tough to compete against, and it was always a great game against Sandra.
A fierce competitor and a perfectionist, someone who was passionate about the game, someone that was a team player but also a team leader.
Totally focused. There's absolutely nothing going through her mind other than the weight she needs to throw and the target she needs to hit and what she needs to do to execute the shot.
Calm, yet very excitable inside. She was never afraid, always willing to take that extra step and spoke her mind. She never hid from anything, and she was a confident person.
She was very grounded in what she did, and I think that's what drew people to her. She came across as a girl from Saskatchewan that just loved the sport of curling and loved her teammates and loved the life that she was leading.
Because we came from the east, we used to say, those Saskatchewan girls, they must eat nails for breakfast and spit them at us. And I just think it was just the discipline they had.
There is no one who was as fierce and determined and driven to be the best than Sandra.
Sandra had a look in her eyes, and that star power was what she played her best for. And a champion has that look, and Sandra had all of that.
Even though she was tough and ferocious as a competitor on the ice, she was very humble off the ice. She was very supportive of her teammates and her fellow competitors.
Off the ice, though, it was really clear that Sandra and her teammates, had a special connection. They were really tight. They had fun together. They really enjoyed each other's company. They were all in a special moment in time. The best team in Canada and the best team in the world.
Sandra's team had a huge goal, and that was to win the gold medal. It wasn't just to be an Olympian, to represent Canada. It was that gold, and being the first to win a gold medal just put that team right over the top.
After their win in Nagano, their gold medal win, Sandra was celebrating with her team and came over to me later and gave me a big hug and said, "We did it, Coach." And that just spoke to me of her sense of team and inclusion. Sandra loved her family, so proud to be a wife and a mom. She said that her best deliveries were giving birth to her girls.
When she had Jenna and Sarah, that was a real struggle for her to be away from Shannon and Sarah and Jenna, be in the limelight when she was just so proud to have two beautiful young daughters.
As the host of the Scotties opening banquet that year, they received a fact written by Sandra from her hospital room, and they asked me to read it. The one thing about Sandra, she never wanted anyone to feel sorry for her. And in that fact, she made it clear, I may not be doing well, but there are other things in life, and whatever the outcome, I'll be there. And when she wasn't there personally, in body, she was certainly there in spirit.
When Vic read the fact from Sandra at the closing banquet, I was very saddened.
There wasn't a dry eye in that room, and being reminded of that brings goosebumps all these years later. It was such a contradictory statement because she sounded so hopeful in the words that he read, yet the facts we knew about her condition were so serious and so contrasting in perspective. Your mind knew you had to think one thing, but your heart wanted to think something different about the situation.
I've read many things over the course of a career, but never something that touched so many people and quieted a room as that fax did. And little did we know at that moment that we would lose her 5 days later.
Sandra and her words of wisdom provided perspective for all of us in terms of let's not lose sight of this is a game. We play this to have fun. Every day is a gift. Don't ever lose sight of that perspective.
Take the expression Sandra being called the Queen of Curling. That came not only from her accomplishments as an athlete, but also how she appeared as a person. People who were watching her on television or watching her in arena were drawn to her because they saw someone who had obviously worked very hard at their sport, but they also represented themselves in such a way that people were attracted to her. And I think the young people who were watching Sandra felt that I could do that. She inspired other people to get out and try. And I think she inspired her fellow athletes to up their game.
It was so devastating to lose Sandra, especially in what was really the prime of her career as a curler. I don't think she was finished leaving her mark on the Canadian competitive curling landscape. But it's the way for today's curlers. And I think she'd be really proud about the foundation she set and where competitive women's curling has become as a result of the path she charted for us.
When I look back and see Sandra's legacy live on, it's an honor to have played against her, to laugh with her, and watch her smile.